home is where your heart is, then mine's right here. I'm Amy, and this is My Texas Today. As fall approaches, some of us are already battling those nasty fall allergies that we tend to get. And so I contacted my very own children's pediatrician, Dr. Vada Rocco with Kids First Pediatrics, and she's going to give us some helpful tips and remedies on how to control that sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, and sometimes fever that we all battle. Dr. Vada Rocco, thank you for joining me. Why do some people battle allergies and then others don't?
Some people's immune system works differently, and they're actually hyper-functioning, and their immune system is over-responding to the same triggers that the rest of us get. Mm-hmm. When you breathe in pollens, most of us take that as a foreign body and we get rid of it from our body. Some people's immune system takes that on and then kind of explodes with chemical bombs inside of us that are releasing lots and lots of histamine. And histamine will cause changes in our bodies such as sneezing, teary eyes, itchy mouth, wheezing, all the things that we associate with seasonal allergies. The antidote to that is antihistamines. And so if you take antihistamines, when this event occurs, when you're exposed and it's already in your system, then the histamine doesn't get a chance or less of an opportunity to cause problems with your nose and your throat and your lungs.
How often should we give the medication to our children? Because I'm confused. Do I need to give it to them all year long? Or do I only need to give it to them when they're flaring up and having a reaction?
You don't have to take them every single day if you're not having allergies every single day, but most people will have seasonal allergies, so if you have mountain seed, or it's not a one-day phenomenon, it's several days or even a season. Here in Texas, a lot of people can stop taking their medicines during winter when everything dies, and during summer when everything dies. But that's not true if your allergies are to dust mites, for instance.
Do you recommend tablets and nasal spray, or just one or the other?
That's a great question. It kind of depends on your allergies. Okay. And some people do better with a nose spray, some people do better with a tablet, and some people, you need both to get your allergies under control. Mm-hmm. So you do whatever's necessary to get under control.
At what point do we know that it's gone from an allergy to maybe a full-blown cold, or even like a virus?
Kids with allergies have a 3 to 5 times greater risk of having colds, sinus infections, bronchitis, ear infections. So they're walking around just waiting for something bad to happen to them. And that's because of all this inflammation going on. It enables them to trap their secretions in their ears or their sinuses. And when secretions stay in one place too long, they get infected. And so you're right to be thinking, has it evolved to something else? And there is fever, as you mentioned, that can be one of the most important sources, but sometimes just a change in their behavior. Are they acting crabby? Are they not sleeping as well? Allergies themselves can make them sick, but if they're sicker than normal, then you suspect maybe something else is going on.
So what can we do to prevent these allergies? How can we help them?
The bigger thing is to say, how can I get my allergies under control to decrease my risk for those other things?
Exactly.
And so we talked a little bit about doing the medicines, and that's one of the easier ways to do it. Some of the other things that people try are keeping the windows shut, running the air conditioner, making sure that you're changing your filters regularly so that you're getting less exposures. Some people would say you're not supposed to be outside much between 5 a.m. and 10 a.m. because that's when allergens are peaking there. And then we've talked before about taking a shower if you've been outside during the daytime. If you take a shower to get the pollens off of your hair, because when you lay down at nighttime, then you're rubbing your hair into the pillow, and then you kind of breathe into your pillow, and that can activate your allergies. So those are some simple solutions.
I understand that the swine flu vaccine is now being tested on children. What's new with that?
Yes, and interestingly enough, they're having difficulty finding volunteers.
Really?
Yes. It is interesting because right now there is a lot of hesitancy with the whole vaccine industry. There's a recent poll that said 60% of Americans don't consider the swine flu a problem anymore. I think most of people thought that this was something that never really developed or manifested, and so they don't consider it important. And having said that, it's hard to kind of lift up your baby and said, use my baby as a guinea pig for this vaccine. And so therein lies the problem. The dilemma comes, or the problem is not actually with the swine flu. The swine flu has been a very mild virus. It's very contagious. Symptoms are mild. A lot of people probably experienced the swine flu, never saw a doctor, and never sought care. And so the swine flu itself is not the interesting part of this. The interesting part of this is the fact that the swine flu is still circulating, and we anticipate it's going to circulate in the fall when the other flu is coming around. And so we may have two strains circulating at the same time. That is a novel situation for us. With the normal flu, every year they develop a vaccination for it, and they're actually looking at circulating strands, and they develop the vaccination. Well, then it goes in production, and months take place before that vaccine becomes available to us. Meanwhile, the flu changes just a little bit, and it is called a drift, antigenic drift. And so sometimes there's not a match as well as they predicted initially. And so everybody's heard stories, they got the flu shot and they ended up getting the flu. That's because it evolved a little bit. There was little mutations that took place. And that's, again, called a drift. On the other hand, there is an antigenic shift that is a different scenario. And that is when you have a body, whether it's an animal body or human body, that encounters two strains at the same time. Say the flu vaccine that circulates in the fall, and then you take the swine flu. And these two strains get to know each other, and they get close, and then they make babies. And now we have a new flu strain that develops. And this can have the characteristics of either one of those, and it can be a very mild version, or it can be a different version that could be more severe. The government, in response to that, is encouraging everybody to get a flu vaccination. And it's important to protect you, but it's also important because it can avoid the cross-mingling of those two strands, and then we don't have to worry about the potential of a brand new flu surfacing for which we will have no protection because it's brand new. We would have to then develop an even newer vaccine. So that's what makes this kind of fascinating.
So we need to be taking two different vaccines this fall.
Exactly. And this may be for this season, or we don't really know how this is going to play out. But again, vaccines are to help prevent getting sick in the first place. And if you get vaccinated for this one and this one, then hopefully you won't get either one. They won't go inside you and make a new one.